Yeah, hello everyone. Welcome to Global Impact tonight. I'm David McQuell. So happy to be here with you again tonight for another exciting edition. And for this week, we are looking at focusing still on Africa, but on nation building. We're looking at lasting nation building. This was a question was in the hearts of the founding fathers when they thought about the idea of America. They didn't want to repeat the same systems of government that had been there and that had been practiced through all civilization, monarchy, despotism, tyranny, communism, socialism, all these systems of government and authoritarianism. All these systems of government had been there long before they were born, before their generation. However, none of them was lasting, and none of them cared about the people that they govern. And so the founding fathers wanted a new system of government that will be lasting and that will bring peace, happiness, and prosperity for the people of the governed region. That is where the quest for a lasting, enduring nation, an enduring system of government began. So we're going to look at that. And we all know that, especially those of us who are from Africa, or those of us who know Africa, know that we don't have a prosperous system of government. We all have failed governments. In almost every nation in Africa, the government is a failed government. They are being propped up, they are corrupt, they are authoritarian, they're despotic, and you can name them. And there is no place in Africa where the people are happy. That's the reason why young people die every week in the Mediterranean trying to cross over to Europe, and so on and so forth. And so we're going to be looking at this and revisiting this, but comparing it to other established societies like America, like Europe, like some of the Asian countries like Japan and South Korea that are really doing very well, very well. What did they do? What did they do right? Why are they doing well? Have they always been like that? Is it a gift from God? Is it something unique? Is it only unique to white people that they succeed in establishing long-lasting societies? Or is it that they are doing something that we are not doing, that Africans are not doing, that other third world countries are not doing? And that's what we'll be looking at today. So please don't go anywhere. Just hang around, and I will be right back after this break. I'll be right back. All right, so welcome back today. This is Global Impact, and I'm David McQuell.
David McQuell on
Global
Impact at TC. Oh my word! On Global Impact, and with David McQuell on Global Impact TEC. ECNTV.com.
Yeah.
And with David McQuell on Global Impact at TECNTV.com.
TECNTV.com.
Right, so welcome back to the show. Today we are looking at, lasting nation building. We are looking at how to build nations that will last, that is the reason why, in fact, it's the heart cry of every nation. Like I said, if you are not well aware of what's going on from Africa, a lot of you just check out the Mediterranean, the migrants, the migrants dying the Mediterranean Sea. You check this out on Google or on DuckDuckDuck or any other browsers, and you will be so amazed at the number of lives that are lost. Young Africans from Sub-Saharan Africa take a very, very risky journey, and they travel through the desert of Libya, going to Morocco, to Tunisia, and to Libya, waiting for their turn when they will take another extraordinarily risky trip to Europe, trying to escape the failed states of Africa, the failed governments, the disgraceful failed leadership in Africa. Even though Africa is extraordinarily rich, it is actually the richest continent, and you would say that probably 2/5 of the wealth of the world is stored in Africa. Yet, with that abundance of resources, Africans are escaping in large numbers. The famous brain drain, the pre-millennium 2000 Y2K brain drain campaign that talked about how the West, precisely Europe and America, are draining the most educated Africans to Europe. Well, that's just half truth. It's not as if they have been invited, they have been, what do you call it? It's not as if they are being bribed to come over to Europe or to go over to the United States. It's simply because they have better opportunities there. They are more appreciated. They are well given opportunity to do what they do best, what they studied in school. They are so hardworking. They want to succeed in life. They don't want to just go along and be abused and be misused and be deprived as it is in most countries that are third world countries. And so they begin to travel. Everybody wants an opportunity. I tell you, in Africa, probably half of Africans wants to move out of Africa. I say probably half, if not more. Everybody wants to escape because things are not going right. The governments are actually failed governments. It's not just Somalia that's a failed government, but many other countries who have a resemblance of some sort of democracy are actually not doing well. Those democracies are actually are the worst thing that is even happening to Africa. Why? Because it legitimizes the corruption that is going on. So a corrupt leader who is able to bribe his way, buy voters, give out money, dole out stolen money to voters, buying votes, eventually wins the election. And they say the election is free and fair. And he becomes president and he rules. You can imagine Yoweri Museveni has been there for probably about 30 years. And go to Cameroon, Paul Biya has been there for almost 40 years. And you go on and so forth. These leaders just stay there for as long as they want to stay. And they just wait for every 4 years, 5 years, and they run elections, and they win the elections. And since democracy is eulogized, well, they win the election. Everybody said they've won, so give them another time, wait for another time. But the whole system is rigged. There is no way someone else will come and win because they buy votes, they buy the electoral commission, they buy the judges, they buy the police, they buy everybody. Members of the National Assembly are bribed. At the end of the day, you just know who is going to win even before the election comes. And so people in Africa are tired, they have given up, they are discouraged. In fact, so some people just stop trying to change the system and just look for a way to escape, go somewhere else, where people are reasonable, where people think, where people, appreciate each other, appreciate you, give you the opportunity to have a great life. While I was in the United States, I had great opportunities and great friends of mine, over 100 friends, said to me, why don't you just stay back in the United States? We need you here, and you will be more effective from here. And I absolutely agree with them. I will be more effective from there. I will do much better even in the mission field. I'll be able to mobilize resources. I'll be able to launch out and do it all, Lord. I just want to be sure that's what God wants me to do. That's why. Otherwise, I would go. And so many people in Africa are just waiting. In fact, majority of the people, probably 99%, are not really interested in what God says. They just want to escape. So why are things this bad? And so we're going to watch some videos. I got some really good videos here, most of them from PragerU. And I want to start with this, I think, from Ben Shapiro. It is really great video. And the theme of the video is, why has the West been so successful? We're going to do that through this first half, and then I'll be right back.
Western civilization. It's been around for a while, but suddenly everybody is talking about it. Some are anxious to save it. Others are happy to see it go. But what exactly is Western civilization? Is it the great cathedrals of Europe or the Nazi concentration camps? Is it the freedoms secured in the U.S. Constitution or chattel slavery? Life-saving medicines or poison gas? The left likes to focus on the bad: genocide, slavery, environmental destruction. But those have been present in every civilization from time immemorial. The positives are unique to the West: religious tolerance, abolition of slavery, universal human rights, the development of the scientific method. These are accomplishments of a scope and scale that only the West can claim. These aren't the only achievements that make the West special and uniquely successful. As Western thought evolved, it secured the rights of women and minorities, lifted billions of people out of poverty, and invented most of the modern world. Progress hasn't been a straight line, of course, but the arc of history is clear. The obvious proof is that the world is overwhelmingly Western. And, with few exceptions, those parts of the world that aren't aspire to be. Why? Why has Western civilization been so successful? There are many reasons, but the best place to start is with the teachings and philosophies that emerged from two ancient cities, Jerusalem and Athens. Jerusalem represents religious revelation as manifested in the Judeo-Christian tradition, the beliefs that a good God created an ordered universe and that this God demands moral behavior from his paramount creation, man. The other city, Athens, represents reason and logic as expressed by the great Greek thinkers, Plato and Aristotle, and many others. These two ways of thinking, revelation and reason, live in constant tension. Judeo-Christian religion posits that there are certain fundamental truths handed down to us by a transcendent being. We didn't invent these truths. We received them from God. The rules he lays down for us are vital for building a functioning, moral civilization and for leading a happy life. Greek thinking posits that we only know truth by what we observe, test, and measure. It is not faith but fact that drives our understanding and exploration of the universe. Western civilization, and only Western civilization, has found a way to balance both religious belief and human reason. Here's how the balance works. The Judeo-Christian tradition teaches that God created an ordered universe and that we have an obligation to try to make the world better. This offers us purpose and suggests that history moves forward. Most pagan religions taught the opposite, that the universe is illogical and random, and that history is cyclical. History just endlessly repeats itself, in which case, why bother to innovate or create anything new? Second, Judeo-Christian tradition teaches that every human is created in the image of God. That is, each individual's life is infinitely valuable. This seems self-evident to us now, but only because we have lived with this belief for so long. The far more natural belief is that the strong should subjugate the weak, which is precisely what people did in nearly every society in all of history. Only by recognizing the divine in others did we ever move beyond this amoral thinking toward the concern for human rights, democracy, and free enterprise that characterized the West. But Judeo-Christian religion alone didn't build our modern civilization. We also required Greek reason to teach us objective observation, that man has the capacity to search beyond revelation for answers. Greek reason brought us the notion of the natural law, the idea that we could discover the natural purpose, the telos, of everything in creation by looking to its character. Human beings were created with the unique capacity to reason. Therefore, our telos was to reason. By investing reason with so much power, Greek thought became integral to the Western mission. Nowhere is this more perfectly expressed than in the American Revolution, in which the founding fathers took the best of the European Enlightenment, with its roots in Greek thought, and the best of Judeo-Christian practice, with its roots in the Bible, and melded them into a whole new political philosophy. Without Judeo-Christian values, we fall into scientific materialism, the belief that physical matter is the only reality, and therefore also fall into nihilism, the belief that life has no meaning, that we're merely stellar dust in a cold universe. Without Greek reason, we fall into fanaticism, the belief that fundamentalist adherence to unprovable principles represents the only path toward meaning. The Soviet Union, Communist China, and other socialist tyrannies rejected faith and murdered 100 million people in the 20th century. Much of the modern Muslim world has embraced faith, but rejected reason. It's noteworthy that when the Muslim world did embrace Greek reason from the 8th to the 14th centuries, it was a leading center for scientific advancement. So again, we need both Jerusalem and Athens, revelation and reason. And yet many want to reject both. These people call themselves progressives. Ironically, they want to take us backwards to a time when man was governed neither by reason nor faith, but by feeling, and therefore back to a time of moral chaos and disorder, of feeling over fact. it would be a fatal mistake to follow the progressives. Stick with Athens and Jerusalem. I'm Ben Shapiro, editor of the Daily Wire and author of The Right Side of History for Prager University. Thank you for watching this video. To help keep PragerU videos free, please consider making a tax-deductible donation.
Everything that's reported on television isn't always true, but it should be. NTD, the power of truth. Now available 24/7 on television and streaming platforms.
Welcome back to the show. Thank you so very much for hanging in there. So we're talking about nation building. How is it? How African nations, third world nations in Asia, in Latin America, how are they ever going to be able to build lasting societies that are prosperous, that ensure the happiness of the people, that bring joy and bring out the dignity of God in man? How are they going to ever do that? Now, if they are ever going to do that, we must look at societies that have endured, how they got built, and then see what they did right, and then look at how these countries that are still remaining third world or second world, underdeveloped or going through a lot of difficulties, how is it that they have not been able to get to where the first world is? And that's really a great way of assessing this thing. Ben Shapiro in this video really brought out amazing facts. First of all, he looked straight at civilizations and the impact of civilization. There is modern civilization, there is olden days civilization. In the olden days civilization that was paganist and just humanistic, people believed in all kinds of things, and also they believed that life was just cyclical, just go on, and there was nothing really you could do about it, because once the gods do things, and then there is no way you don't have a way of changing everything, because everything depends on the gods, and so man became a tyrant and despot, and decided as he pleased, and decided which god he wanted to follow and how things were done. And because of that, people kept suffering and going through so much. There was almost everything challenges that we see today. Of course, there were the good sides, which were times of good, times of prosperity. There were also times of famine, times of hunger, and earthquakes and floods, and all kinds of things. There were human social crises, as it is today. For example, racism and oppression and all kinds of indignity done to man at that time, in as much as it's done today. Environmental damage is not just today that it began. It had been there at that time. But things changed with the Western civilization. The coming of the Western civilization brought a lot of change, because it brought about the conscience, the thought of man, and in bringing in the thoughts and the conscience of man, they were able to examine our ways of doing things, and brought some change. And as Ben says, the point about the Western civilization is that prosperity and happiness does not just come by luck or by the gods. It comes by conscious efforts that the people make. The same way with poverty, the same way with calamities, a lot of calamities like hunger and want and need and socialism, and the harm that socialism brings. All these are the efforts of man. They are not by God. They are not God-made. They are not an act of God. It is the man that brought these things upon him, upon society. So actually something can be done. If something is done, then we can see change in society. We can see transformation in society, and we can see hunger and want and violence obliterated, and peace and harmony, prosperity and love endure amongst men, amongst the nations. And so he went back to the root, the heart root especially, of the American society, how the American society was born. And he said that the founding fathers of the America Revolution, realized from their observation of society, their observation of civilization, their observation of the times, they realized that there were two great pillars. One was spiritual, and the other was reason. He calls it Jerusalem and Athens. In Jerusalem was a spiritual enlightenment, which is God, that a good God creates the earth and blesses man, and he has a requirement, moral requirement from man for the way he lives, and the way he lives determines how he enjoys peace and prosperity. In Athens, on the other side, was reason, exploration of the earth, observation of the earth, and learning new things, getting to know the earth, and how to nurture the earth and make it look a better place. And he symbolized it by these two people that symbolized it was Plato and Aristotle. Those two people were great Greek philosophers who were the fathers of thought, and they thought through society, and in their thoughts they brought out certain realities, certain truths that people began to also observe. In putting them to practice, society became better. However, the founding fathers realized that they needed both. They needed both the Jerusalem revelation, and they needed the reason of Athens. And that's how they built society. That's how they built America. That's how they got to where they are. In understanding the revelation of God, that there is a God, and a God who rules in the affairs of men. There is a God who does not only rule in the affairs of men, who has requirements for us as human beings, who desires that we live in a certain way and we do things in a certain manner so that his blessing will rest upon us. In fact, he is the one that created us. So everyone who manufactures a product knows the best way that that product will function well. God is the one who made us, and he knows better how we can, function well. And he lays it down as a principle, which is the Judeo-Christian values and the Bible, which was taught by the founding fathers, taught to the founding fathers, by great ministers of the gospel who taught in the colonies, and the realization of the thoughts about God and the teaching of God, the application of the word of God on society brought about great principles and values that changed the way man lived, they changed the way the Americans live, and established an amazing nation that was going to prosper and be happy and endure for a very, very long time. In the same way, reason, that is not just spiritual, it's not just what God said, but when God says it, and we have to apply it, we have to reason. God has given us a brain, he has given us a mind to think and to reason and to find the best principles in which we can live that are in alignment with the word of God, that agree with God. Simple reason of love, of compassion, of care for one another, of common good, of the common good, of forgiveness, of raising your family decently, and bringing up your children well, nurturing them, teaching them the principles of morality, the fear of God, and the ability to reason and solve their problems. These are the amazing things that the founding fathers found out, and they began to apply them in their lives. And through them, they built just laws. They built great principles that was going to govern the way they live their lives, the way they pursue their happiness, and the way they enjoy their God-given rights. It's incredible. And that's how we got America as it is today. Bringing the Bible together, the revelation of God's word, and the reasoning of Athens, which is the reasonings of the minds, and they ended up establishing an amazing country, a great nation indeed. So that's really great. And I'll be right back after the break, and we will look more deeply into this and also watch another video. So I'll be right back. Sure.
the church, to the living, powerful, transformative, nation-shaking Christianity.
What they're trying to do is completely demolish Western civilization and then to rebuild it in a just society.
How do you break down American Christianity?
I think the problem today in our culture is many of our words have been co-opted and stolen and dumbed down and reversed.
Social justice is sold as something that it isn't. Critical race theory is sold as something that it isn't.
Whiteness has caused blindness of heart. Whiteness has caused blindness of heart.
When you preach victimization, it always leads to vengeance and vice. Us against them, me against you, I want my pound of flesh.
American churches today are where the universities were 10 years ago. Pretty heavily Marxist. They're not quite there yet, but they're well on the way. Many of the seminaries and Bible colleges are definitely already there.
That message that they're going out and taking the world is not, you need to repent of your sin, receive Christ. Instead, the message that you actually have is they are under the weight of racism or sexism or homophobia, and then we need to unify them together.
I'm gay, I'm 29, I'm a youth pastor in New Jersey.
I'm straight, and I'm also a youth pastor in New Jersey.
We're planning on sharing life together for the rest of our lives, which we're not totally sure what that looks like. Obviously, Nick is straight, and he does plan on getting married. When he has a wife one day, she'll make those decisions with us.
The future damage of what we're doing now is just going to be enormous.
The entire fabric of family, personal wealth, private property, all those things are out the door. And everything is the state. They believe the state is God.
They don't define justice the same way as the scriptures.
Oh, no. It's going to be an equality, all right. And it's going to be a totalitarian Marxist justice.
Hi, I'm Pastor Greg, host of the Chosen Generation radio show, heard on the Truth Broadcasting Network and seen on TECNTV.com Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to noon Eastern, where I discuss today's most important issues through a biblical constitutional lens. TECNTV.com appreciates our partnership with NTD, and we'd love for you to give our great programming a view. That's TECNTV.com, Chosen Generation Radio with Pastor Greg. God bless you, and God bless America.
So welcome back to the show. Welcome, my friends. Thank you so much for hanging in there with us. We're having a great time as we are talking about the foundations, the building of long-lasting nations. How do we build a nation that will last forever? This was a question that the founding fathers of America took a long time to think about. They discussed this, they debated this for years. They argued about this, and not just then, in fact, till death. It's still argued. The principle in Congress is to really debate. That's why the elections in America are always preceded by debates. You know, people are bringing different ideas together, and they are debating on the ideas. Everybody is providing his own view. You know, bringing forth his own view, and presenting it, and anyone who thinks differently is countering it. And it's actually considered as the best way to grow the society, the republic. You know, no one should have superiority of ideas. No one should have superiority of thought. We all live together, and we all share our common society together. And it is all our duty to see that the welfare of everyone is protected. We want to see everybody happy. We want to see everybody enjoy life and be happy, live their full life, and be able to raise their family and see their family, their children, their grandchildren, and be happy. And how do we do that? That's the reason why there is always agreement and disagreement. The founding fathers truly disagreed and agreed. They agreed and disagreed. We're going to look at another video shortly that has to do with that and look at how they handled these agreements and disagreements. That is something that we need to do in Africa, which we don't do well. In fact, not only in Africa, but if you go to third world countries in Asia and Latin America, that's where the problem is. Some people believe that they have the monopoly of what is right. And so they do everything they can to harass those who have a different opinion. That's the wrong way to build a society. And some tribes or ethnic groups that are stronger than others dominate the minority because they are more. Now, that may look like you are winning, but actually you are losing. A free society where everybody, even the most minor person in society, has a say is the best society. It's a society that will endure and prosper. In a family where you have children of different ages, everyone's opinion counts. If you trample on the youngest person because he's younger and cannot defend himself, well, you are doing yourself harm. You are doing yourself harm, and you are destroying the family. And that's what most societies and even most African countries do. The minorities have no say because it's the majority that carry the vote. You see the problem with democracy? The problem with democracy is that even the foolish, when he has majority, he keeps ruling forever in his foolishness. The minority, no matter how smart he is, languishes with his smartness, and everybody in society is deprived of his wisdom. Now, that's really terrible. And so it is absolutely important that for a society to be healthy, there must be agreement and disagreement. But this agreement and disagreement must be done without violence. It must be done peacefully, amicably. And everyone should listen to the other person's view. Listen very well. Now, it would be stupid if fire is destroying houses in my area, and my neighbor has a better idea on how to protect our houses. And because he's minority, I say, I don't want it. He's a small person, he's a minority, he shouldn't say anything. Even though he has the way he can save your life, even though he has an idea on how he can make your life better, that's foolishness. And it is this foolishness that plagues societies, especially third world societies, poor nations, because there is a monopoly of ideas. And sometimes those who monopolize the ideas don't have better ideas. In fact, they stop those who have better ideas from coming out. They get attacked, they get harassed, they get beaten, they get killed, they get poisoned. All sorts of things happen just because the other person seems like he has a better idea and people are listening to him more. Or because you don't want anybody else to know that there is a smarter person or another person can think better than you. And so you kind of kill him, but you don't only kill him, you kill the idea that could save your own children and your children's children. See where the problem is. That's why it's really important for us as a society, not just a society, even a company, a family, that we all sit together and ask questions and reason together. It's incredible. In Isaiah chapter 1, God said to the Jews, he said, come, let us reason together. Did you see that? Even God is giving ordinary man a seat at the table. He said, come, let's reason together. Let's talk. Let's rub our minds. Say what you think, and I'll say what I think. And let's come together. And that's exactly how society should be built. The American founders did exactly that. Haven't it really? I don't know why. I see lots of people who are jealous of America. I see lots of people who are envious of America. I see a lot of people who speak evil against America. I was talking with someone, and he's someone from Africa who said that America has looted our resources. And I asked him, what did America take from Africa? America did not colonize Africa. Didn't colonize even one nation. They actually planted Liberia. They didn't colonize anybody. America has not been coming to catch slaves and kidnap. Even slaves that were sold in America were not bought by Americans. Initially, they were actually bought by the Europeans, the Portuguese, the Spaniards, and the British. So in what way? Just today, I think it was yesterday, a friend of mine made a post. A friend from Zimbabwe who made a post about some sort of foolishness happening in Zimbabwe. And then some people came chiming in, and someone said, "Oh, in America, the reason why Zimbabwe is not doing well is because America is envious and Europe is envious." And my friend asked him, "Envious for what? What do we have in Zimbabwe that America or Europe should envy us?" Now you see, so it's that wrong understanding. We as people. And I say this not just as a nation. You could apply this anywhere in your life. You could apply this in anything that you do in your life. And you will see that it's absolutely important that debating, sharing ideas, sitting together, reasoning, and talking together is the best way to move forward. It's the best way to move forward. If you understand the American founders, they believe that God created man and endowed man with wisdom, endowed man with natural rights, and not just natural rights, but gave him great understanding, and that man can actually sit down and look at his situation and reason on his situation and actually do something about it to help himself. And then sometimes in helping himself, he discovers how he can help everybody else. That's incredible. And that's what is called property. In American founders, when they talk about property, they were not just talking about a plot of land. They were not just talking about buying a car. They were actually talking about intellectual abilities. You are able to think and reason and solve problems. And if you discover a way a problem can be solved, you can patent it and become the original source of that idea, and you will be paid something in exchange. If you invent a machine that solves the problems of others, you have the exclusive right to reproduce that machine and sell it for a token, earn something from your intellectual property. You see? And that's how progress, that's how productivity came in the colonies. That's how the colonies, the American colonies, didn't start as rich colonies. They went through all kinds of difficulties. They went through hardships, famine, hunger, calamities, all kinds of troubles. But you know what? They remembered that God made man in his image and gave man great wisdom and ability. And they sat down to try to solve their problems with time. And they began to discover that everybody is endowed. And as everybody began to pour out the ability that is in him, they began to bless themselves and build prosperity that has lasted even beyond today. All right, so I'll be right back. Let's just take this break and I'll be right back. We'll watch a video.
Thank you. Hey, I'm Ken McClinton, the host of the Exceptional Conservative Show, live from the nation's capital. I love this cat, the Exceptional Conservative Show cat, Jacob. We love you, and we want you to know we love the fact that you watch TECNTV.com. As chairman, founder, and president, we wish you much love and much affection. I love you. I love you.
Hey, this is Pastor Greg right here watching TECNTV.com live and enjoying. You should join me here on ChildrenGenerationRadio.com. And also my other favorite thing, ministering the gospel in India.
Hi, I'm Bob Record. And as you can see, I love hunting. And I also love watching TECNTV.com. Why don't that you join me in doing that. But in the meantime, I'm headed back to the field. See you later.
Hi, my name is Tiffany Jones from Beyond the Lines. And when I'm not exploring Los Angeles, I am watching TECNTV.com. TECNTV.com. I love it.
I'm David McQuell. I'm the host of Global Impact on TECN. I'm a missionary in Abidjan, West Africa, working on establishing the largest history center. Whether I'm in the field or I'm working on history, I love TECN TV.
When I'm not making delicious cookies, I'm watching TECNTV.com.
Hi, I'm Randy, and I love the golf.
And I love TECNTV.com.
All right, thank you so very much. Thank you. Have some great shows there. That's just a little of what TECN TV offers. Thank you so very much for being with us. We really appreciate you, and God bless you. I'll be back. Nation building is a really important thing. When you build a nation, you are not just building buildings, you are not just building roads, you are building a world for generations. Traveling to developed countries like the United States, I was in Belgium briefly. You see amazing, incredible structures. You go to Washington, D.C., you go to all the state capitals, you go around Seattle, you go up in Rapid City, and you see all kinds of building massive Victorian time style of buildings. Great buildings that, you know, they will endure. These buildings will be here for hundreds, if not thousands of years, if Jesus does not come back yet. Now, so why did those who build these buildings do that? Why did they build the Washington Monument? Why did they build the White House the way it is? Why did they build the Lincoln Memorial? And so many others. If you go out there, you see museums that will last a lifetime, more than a lifetime. Why did they build that? Because they were building a nation for all generations. They were not building it for their own day. They were building it for all generations. The problem we have in third world countries is that we don't have that kind of thinking. We don't think ahead. We don't think about the future. We don't think about years to come, children yet unborn, generations. Everything that is done for today. When the nation makes money, they waste it today. When they get money, they spend it today. I remember the first, I think 2017, when President Trump was in just a year in office. That was when the American government helped Nigeria recover the money, some of the monies that have been looted and deposited in American banks. The money was returned back to Nigerians, call it the Sani Abacha looted money. And what did the Nigerian government do with the money? Large sum of money, hundreds of millions of dollars. What did they do with the money? Instead of building some great universities, hospitals and roads, instead of investing it into agriculture and technology, science and technology, or even with that money, building libraries all across the nation. No, they said they were going to share the money among the poor. I have never had such a despicable thing in my life. What do you mean by sharing money? What do you mean by sharing money among the poor? How do you even know who is the poor? Who got the money? I never met anyone who got the money. I don't know anybody who knew anybody who got the money. That's one of the biggest ways that corruption is practiced. If the government is sharing money, you bet it. The money is corrupt money. It will be used to buy votes, to buy favors, to buy support. I don't think any poor person, real poor person, got anything out of that money. What a waste of money. Money came in cash. They would have built libraries all across the nations in different capitals. In fact, they could take 10 cities or town, in fact, 10 cities in every state in Nigeria and build libraries for students, which would have been an amazing investment for generations to come. However, they blew away the money. Oil money comes in, and you go on and on and on. You go to Ghana, you see the same thing. You go to Liberia, you see the same thing. Go to Kenya, Uganda. Go to Zambia and go to Uganda, Namibia. Anywhere you go, Angola, anywhere you go in Africa, you see the same kind of foolishness repeated. There's no plan for the future. No thought, no active thought for the future. The founders knew they were not just building a nation that they would live in just for their lifetime. How long does man live? 70 years, 80 years, 90 years. And at most people live between 70 and 80 years, average lifespan. And is that all you do? Build something that will last just that time? And many people prefer to loot the money and give it to their children, store the money up for their children somewhere. How on earth will that ever bring you any kind of lasting development? That's the problem we have in poor countries. It's not that there is no resources, no wealth. It's just that there's no plan. Nothing. The founders never sit down. The American founders knew it was a serious business. They put their lives down to it. They risked it all. They stayed for months deliberating on what kind of nation they want to build and why. They study the past. They look at contemporary governments of their time. They studied why many nations and systems of government and governance had failed, and they thought of something different. Something different. And many of them were actually young. There was even, I think, Thomas Jefferson was probably just about 21. I think one of them was 21 years. Many of them were below 40, and yet they sat down and built a nation that has outlasted every nation. It's in fact the premier nation in the world today. Let's look a little bit into that. Look at the story of, my God, I think we're going to look at the story of Alexander Hamilton. Such an incredible story. And I'd like you to watch it and really take some good notes.
It would only be a slight exaggeration to say that Alexander Hamilton invented the United States of America. George Washington was the guiding star, Thomas Jefferson the visionary, Benjamin Franklin the sage. But Hamilton was the pragmatist, the man who got it done. This most self-made of self-made men took a country with no past and planned its future. He was born on January 11th, 1755, on the island of Nevis. This was not the Caribbean of your cruise fantasy. Quite the contrary. As Ron Chernow writes in his biography of Hamilton, while other founding fathers were reared in tidy New England villages or cosseted on baronial Virginia estates, Hamilton grew up in a tropical hellhole. Sugar plantations, slave auctions were a regular feature of island life. The spectacle, buyers swinging branding irons as they surveyed the human merchandise, made a permanent impression on Hamilton. He was a fierce abolitionist his entire life. Abandoned by his father at an early age, his mother died of yellow fever when he was 14, leaving the teenage boy destitute. A local judge had to buy him shoes so that he could attend her funeral. He soon took a job as a clerk for a local merchant. Before long, he was running the business, coordinating shipments of mules and codfish, calculating currency exchanges, and advising sea captains on how to deal with pirates. It was an unmatchable apprenticeship in trade, credit, and commerce. In 1773, he arrived in New York to attend King's College, the forerunner of today's Columbia University. Swept up in the revolutionary fervor of his adopted country, he dropped out to join the Continental Army. He quickly came to the attention of George Washington, who made him a staff officer. The sonless Washington called the fatherless Hamilton, "my boy." Fellow officers later remembered, "Call Colonel Hamilton," as Washington's instinctive utterance when important news arrived. As Washington's trusted aide, he was involved in every aspect of running the war, including actual fighting where he distinguished himself on multiple occasions. But more than anything, it was his dealings with the weak and indecisive Continental Congress that shaped his political views. The problem with Congress, in Hamilton's view, was that too few members took the idea of nationhood seriously. They quarreled over their narrow interests rather than uniting over the national interests. As the war was winding down, Hamilton laid out the choice before the country in a widely read 6-part essay. "We could become a noble and magnificent federal republic," he wrote, "closely linked in the pursuit of a common interest, or we could stumble ahead as a number of petty states with the appearance only of union." It was clear where Hamilton stood. The speed by which the United States became a unified nation with a cohesive federal government is largely a result of his tireless efforts before, during, and after the Constitutional Convention. Washington named Hamilton, still only 34, to be the first Secretary of the Treasury. He served in the post for almost 6 years. His task was nothing short of Herculean: put the country drowning in war debt and teetering on the edge of bankruptcy on a sound financial footing. He succeeded, and in doing so set the course for America to become the world's most prosperous nation. Historian Leonard White writes that Hamilton was not only the greatest administrative genius of his generation, but one of the great administrators of all time. There's no telling what Hamilton might have achieved had he lived a longer life. Instead, he died one of the most pointless deaths in American history. As hard as it is to fathom today, he was killed in a duel with the Vice President of the United States, Aaron Burr, a man with whom he had a long and bitter political feud. Hamilton fired his pistol harmlessly into the air. He never intended to kill Burr. To Hamilton, it was an affair of honor. But to Burr, it was something else. The Vice President took careful aim, shot, and mortally wounded his rival, who spent some 30 hours in agony before succumbing. Hamilton was 49. Hamilton lived in a time when the great danger to the national project was a government that was too weak. We live in a time when many believe that the great danger to the nation is from a national government grown too strong. The ideal, Hamilton would have told us, is somewhere in between. But perhaps America will have to wait for another Hamilton to achieve that happy medium. I'm Joseph Tartakovsky, Senior Fellow at the Claremont Institute for Prager University. Thank you for watching this video. To help keep PragerU videos free, please consider making a tax-deductible donation.
Everything that's reported on television isn't always true, but it should be. NTD, the power of truth. Now available 24/7 on television and streaming platforms.
Welcome back. It is incredible to think that Alexander Hamilton was such a young man, probably about 24 or so, when the documents of the United States were set. And this young man became an amazing man. At the age of 34, just at the age of 34, he became the Secretary of the Treasury. I can just imagine today what 34-year-olds do. They are holding their certificates, trying to get a job. Some of them are still in college, trying to get a certificate. Or some of them are just there, jobless, not even sure of what they want to do. Today, a lot of 34-year-olds are social justice warriors who are complaining and complaining and complaining. And here was Alexander Hamilton, at the age of 34, the Secretary of the Treasury of the United States, and the man who set up the economic system and financial system of the United States right from that time till date. And it's been prospering and getting blessed and blessed. Listen to me. Nation building, or even building your life, or building a business, is a serious business. It's something you really need to take it serious. You can actually do much more than you think you can do. And every nation can prosper. Just look at Hamilton. Look at the policies and principles that he enacted that made the United States grow. Just copy them. Practice them in your life. Practice them anywhere. The life of Alexander Hamilton is something that you need to go out online and check out and study and look at the way he talked and the way he organized everything. It is beautiful. Thank you so very much for being with us today. Sadly, we have come to the end of the show. Our time is up, but it's been a great honor having you here. We appreciate you and we thank you so much. We'd love to hear from you. Please, if you are free anytime, you can drop us a mail at jimpact2018@gmail.com. jimpact2018@gmail.com. You can see it scroll across the bottom banner of our screen, of your screen rather. You know, we really appreciate you. Thank you so very much for being here today. If you are from any nation that is underdeveloped, I want you to know that you have to stop blaming others and begin the act of nation building. Begin to talk with your fellow countrymen. Begin to think about how you can contribute to building that nation. We can actually build great nations, and every nation can be great if we can follow the American pattern. God bless you. Thank you so very much. I'll see you tomorrow at the same time. Bye-bye.